Now, there's been a lot of unrest in UK politics in the past week, and now that the dust is settling for Gordon Brown, yesterday it was the leader of the British National Party, Nick Griffin, who was in the spotlight. He was forced to abandon a press conference outside Parliament when demonstrators pelted him and his supporters with eggs. The angry protest in central London followed the election of Mr Griffin and Andrew Brons as the far-right party's first European members of Parliament on Sunday night. So, how do we feel seeing these images, and what do you make of the party winning these 2 seats? What do we think about that?
Well, I mean, they're entitled to talk about their policies. They've been voted in. We live in a democracy. I don't think anyone should throw eggs at them and stuff like that. I don't agree with that. Having said that, it was interesting. I saw this Nick Griffin on a news programme a couple of days ago, and I'd never heard anyone from the BNP talking about their policies. And he seemed like quite an amenable chap, and that really frightened me, because suddenly now this guy has a voice, and a very big voice, because they now have the 2 seats. And he started talking about things in a language that I think most of us can relate to. He seemed like a very personable person. He started talking about how there are too many illegal immigrants in this country, and I've heard people talk about that in the back of cabs, on the tube. It's a very common thing for people to say, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to it. And I think they're being very clever. What worries me is that who knows what their true agenda is. Do you know what I mean?
They used to say that about the Labour Party, though. You know, Ken Lilly's thinking, oh, we've got communists on the buses in London, it'll be terrible. I honestly think that we must get this into perspective. This was a European election, right? There's a very big far-right area of European politics.
Which they will be joining, which will make them very strong.
But what should happen, and there's no big deal about it, except that of the apathy in this country, there is an element of what they're talking about that we should be paying attention to. Is the Labour government doing it? No. Are the Conservatives doing it? No. Liberal Democrats doing it? No.
But we don't trust them to do anything. That's why people like the BNP are getting it.
Lisa, they just have not come up with anything. That's why the BNP has got a voice at all, because at least they're speaking. At least you can respond yay or nay. What our political system has got to do is respond now positively with some policies to counteract it, not just
the Labour Party are you suggesting they take on some of the BNP policies that matter to the...
Well, they've got to listen. I don't think MPs at the moment listen to the country. That's the trouble.
And use this as quite a positive thing, because to be honest, I think Labour have to have a long, hard look at themselves, because I think they've sleepwalked into this. The fact that, as you say, they haven't, they have all parties, I should say, but of course Labour is in government at the moment. They've not been paying attention, as you say, they've not been listening. But I think the main reason that a party like this has managed to gain seats is because people didn't vote. It's not like...
They did vote for the BNP, though, didn't they?
They did vote, but what I mean is not enough people... turnout. We can't suddenly throw our hands up in horror and say, how did that happen? If we'd gone to the polls, they wouldn't have been there. In some places, I know it was up Yorkshire and whole sort of region. In some areas, the BNP this year actually got less votes than they did last year. So it's not necessarily that more people are voting for them, it's just that less people turned out to vote
against them. But they now have, they really have a voice now.
Which is, like you say, it's a worry, but what they're doing is playing to the public. You know, I'm from Yorkshire. Our MEP for Europe is in the BNP now. So there's an awful lot of people in Yorkshire who agree with what they're saying.
Some of what they're saying.
You know what? There are an awful lot of people that do agree with what they're saying, not necessarily in Yorkshire. But the way that they are portraying it is very, very... It's a language we understand, I
personally don't agree with the BNP. Never will. Never will vote for that.
But they don't know what they're talking. We have to be very careful. We're not talking about their policies. They've not laid as much as what we've caught up onto, because it was Europe, and I think a big problem in Europe is there's too many of us. So let's not panic. Let's not worry about being racist, or it's more tribal than anything else. In this country, we are overcrowded, let's be honest, and that's, people get very neurotic and nervous and insecure.
I think, Linda, the difference between, I mean, you are exactly right in what you've just said, but I think that, you know, the difference before, you were saying that, you know, oh, people said this about Labour, we've got Red Ken on the buses and this sort of thing. There's a very big difference between left-wing policies and far-right policies, and a party that won't allow black members, How you know, they've even the leader, he has a conviction for inciting racial hatred. That can't be a positive thing in any way.
No,
I don't understand how.
I quite agree, but we just have to get them back in their box, really. And the way to do it is to come up with something better.
Well, I'm just waiting for them to reveal what the true agenda is. I'm not buying any of it at the moment.
Don't forget, for